Unfortunately, we experienced some technical issues during our live session with Dan. So this episode starts a few minutes late into our conversation. But as Dan said earlier, these small pivoting moments are all a part of starting a company. So let's get back into it.
And we're
Welcome.
back.
So we were
So
talking just the struggles that you were experiencing at the beginning.
yeah, so we're talking about running out of money and getting past that, and then finally getting past that and having some stable income, and then having investors wanting to throw money at you, and you go from this position of being really broke to having some money, just getting by. Now no more, there was a time, when you got to look in your bank account and wonder, like, can I swipe my debit card and buy a burrito? You know, I just didn't. We really had no money, right? And you go from that to having some money, to having residual money, to having funds wanting to throw money at you, right? And I don't think it was really like them throwing it at us, like to the extent that like we really want in, we really want in, we really want in, but it was offered it to us. We had a term sheet in front of us ready to sign, and we said no, because I'd rather live the lifestyle of an entrepreneur and be the dictator of my own success versus having somebody tell me what I can and can't do with my company. That's why I left Morgan Stanley in the beginning. Was I didn't want a boss. I didn't want anybody to tell me what I could do, what time to show up, if I could draw a bigger salary or not. I wanted to be the dictator of my own success. So that's why we turned down the money.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think a lot of entrepreneurs a lot of successful entrepreneurs find themselves in a very similar position where finally the company's starting to build up and starting to work well. And then you're facing a decision, quite a big decision of how you want to continue running your company, or rather maybe selling the company. But I think, as you were saying, your dream was always to be an entrepreneur. So it made sense for you, I guess, at that time to choose your own path rather than following certain guidelines.
Yeah. And we're certainly glad we did. It was the right decision for us. We made the right choice. And now that the company's bigger and has a steady flow of income, you can really, the business no longer owns me. I own the business. There comes a shift in point where you have to work in the business in order to make the business go. But now I spend most of my time working on the business and growing the business. And if I want to, I have a 1-year-old at home now. And if I want to just stay home with him, I can. And the business will still run. It's a machine. It goes. So, and it's really cool. We can provide jobs for people and provide opportunities for people in the community and friends that want jobs and want opportunity. It goes to that extent where you can actually help your community and provide jobs, which is really cool too.
Absolutely. Do you think there were certain like personal characteristics that helped you towards your success?
Um, Probably a lack of fear, whether it was um, good or bad, right? Um, I I wanted this so bad that I burned the bridges, and I went in 100%. I know a lot of people have side hustles on the side, or they're working their 9 to 5 and they're trying to grow their business on the side, right? That was never successful for me. If I was ever asked to be an investor in a company where somebody was doing their company on the side, I probably wouldn't go in on it, because it really takes all day, every day in order to get a business off the ground. I remember specifically one time in 2017, it was like a Sunday afternoon, and we were driving down the street, and I was taking phone calls with my wife and my kid in the car. And it was a Sunday, and she's a teacher. She has weekends off and summers off, you know, and holidays. And she asked me something extended like, when are you going to take a day off? You know? And my response was, I'll take a day off when I can completely provide for my family and send my kid to college on my own business, right? Until then, I won't. Because, and then she got it. She understood that all these long hours working at midnight talking to Francie in Europe, right? He's on the other side of the world. And it's midnight my time, it's morning his time, and we're working around the clock. And there's such determination. I think an entrepreneur has to have determination, fearless, obsessive, compulsive desire to get it off the ground. It can't just be a want. It's got to be a fire from inside, I think.
So do you think that like this, what you just mentioned, so we are working around the clock. So you're working when I'm sleeping and I'm working when you're sleeping. What would you say that are other characteristics when you're working with companies from Europe or from other parts of the world?
I actually really like it because I can work all day and then I know it, and then I can talk to you at night and then be like, all right, in order for me to complete this task, I need this done. And I can go to sleep and then it'll be done, right? Where if I wasn't working with somebody in Europe, if I was working here, I would work, you know, until 11 o'clock at night, and then I have to wake up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, get the kids off to school, and then I have to start where I left off. But having somebody kind of, it's like a relay race almost, and the race never ends, right? It's like I'm carrying the baton. All right, I pass the baton, and I go to bed, and you're carrying the baton. I wake up, and we're further ahead. So that's one of the benefits of working with a team offshore, so to speak, or on the other side of the world, is you can run the race faster, I think.
I once asked you if you can describe us in like few words, and you said "fucking Europeans." And I'm just
I said that? Oh man.
And I'm just interested if there are any stereotypes, or you know, how do businessmen or businesses in US, how do you look at European businesses, or you know, businesses from other parts?
I mean, we honestly have no idea, to be honest. We have whatever's made up in our own minds. Any conceptions that we have is just a figment of our imagination, right? It wasn't rooted in any context or anything material, whatever you see on TV or whatever you know. So I guess that's the ugly American in us, that we judge other countries. But I probably said it jokingly, Francie.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks,
I know.
thanks for putting it on blast. I appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, should we go should we discuss like how to start up SaaS business? Where does one even start? What would you say are the pillars to building a SaaS company?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things you got to do is establish a business. You got to get legit. You got to get a bank account, not your personal bank account. When you make the decision to go ahead, you got to go ahead. That's what I'm talking about. You can't half-ass it. You can't do it on the side. Like, you got to go legit, right? Even my wife, she started a little Etsy business. You know, she got a DBA. She got her own bank account for her business. Like, you got to get the structure set up first. I think that's the first and foremost. And then pick a niche. I think you definitely got to pick a niche. Don't try to go after everything. Go after one thing and be good at it. But sometimes forcing it isn't the best thing either. I was talking to my friend Dustin this morning and on the phone, and we were talking about how if we have a theory of what's going to work, you need to fail. Like, if it's not working, it's not working. Move to the next thing, right? Stay in the lane, yeah, but find what doesn't work. And I think that has a lot to do with marketing. The faster we can find what doesn't work, the faster we can get to what works. So you have to find what doesn't work. And when you find something that doesn't work, it's actually a success because you're narrowing the playing field. You're getting to where you want to go. I was watching a video of Will Smith. He's talking about failing and failing fast and why failing is good. And he related it to muscles. When people go work out at the gym, the point is to work out until your muscles fail, until you lift weights, until you can't lift weights anymore, right? And then when your muscles fail, they grow and they rebuild stronger, right? So if you're not failing, if you're not failing, you're not bringing yourself to the point where you can grow. And I think that
can you give us an example of that kind of fail on your journey? So when we failed at something, but we actually learned a lot.
Sure. You could say Facebook awareness versus Google search, I think. For us, you talk about intent marketing and let's assume that you only have $10,000. Let's assume you only have $1,000 a month to spend on marketing, or 500 or whatever it is. You got to have some kind of marketing budget. But where are you going to put that money is very important. So you could put it on Facebook, but the people on Facebook, they're not actively searching for your product. They're just going by looking at, fail army and crashes and posts from their mom. And we spent a lot of money on trying to figure out Facebook awareness. But what we learned was that people are actively searching on Google for our products. So we could take that same amount of money that we put on Facebook and put it on Google. And just because of the platform, you're going to get more acquisition on Google for us, because there was enough people searching for our product. We didn't really need to create the awareness. There was already people searching. But I think that was actually after we created the awareness, to be honest with you. I think we pioneered this industry. There was no awareness. Nobody was searching for our product 4 years ago. I think we created the awareness on Facebook. So I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember when we started to invest in Facebook, because we couldn't spend the money on Google.
Because we couldn't spend the money on Google, right? Yeah. So there wasn't enough searches for our product. But now it's like there's a lot of searches for our product, which is cool. So other failures, hiring the right people. I hired all my friends, right? And you go, oh shit, that's probably not the best idea. But for us, it was. I also hired people that off of ZipRecruiter, like just some like advertisement platform. And the only people that are here with me right now are my friends, right? And so there's certain trust that you got to have with people. I mean, particularly in today's age, when you're talking about like all these lawsuits and fucking COVID and reopening plans, and you got to go home, you got to come home, and you got to work from home. Now you got to work from the office. Like you got to be able to communicate and trust your employees, versus if you just hire somebody off the street who's not dedicated to you, you know nothing about their personality, their lifestyle. Are they the type of person that'll sue somebody? Are they not? You don't know what you're getting when you hire somebody off the street versus when you hire your friend. At least you know their defaults, you know their character flaws, but at least you know them, So hiring friends versus hiring not friends. For a small startup, I think you hire friends.
But is there a moment when you have to move on?
That's the hardest thing, is firing a friend, right? Which I've had to do. And learning to become a manager too. An entrepreneur is not a manager. They're not. I can't do the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm a ADD to the core. I'm doing this. I'm doing Facebook. I'm doing software development, and I'm hiring people. I'm on the phone selling. I don't have time. I don't have the skill set to manage. And it's really hard to fire a friend, but at some point you got to do it. It's painful, but you gotta. Yeah.
So,
oh, go.
Go on, Maya, go on.
What would you say were some of the like the biggest like obstacles or opportunities that you've experienced like on your journey, or what was maybe just down to pure luck versus not?
I'm sure it was luck, but you got to be in the game to get lucky. Like I said, this is my 15th business, maybe my 20th business. Like, you're bound to get lucky if you keep doing it. You know what I mean? So there is some luck involved, but if you're not in the game and you're not swinging the bat, if you're not taking shots, there is no luck to be had, right? So is it lucky or, yeah, I find that the harder I work, the more lucky I get, you know? So
is it luck, or is it intuition, or database decisions? Or, you know, how do you choose between when to trust yourself, your gut feeling, or when to rely on dashboards?
Yeah, right. I go with my intuition mostly, and I look at data as a guide, or I might say that data confirms my intuition, right? I'll be like, this is not working. And then I look at the data and I'll go, yeah, it's not working. Thank you for showing me that, right? I already knew it wasn't working. But like, there is, when it comes to dollars and cents, then you have to look at the data, right? What's the cost per lead on Google versus the cost per lead on Facebook? Well, I can look at it and be like, man, we're getting a lot of leads on Facebook, tons of leads. I mean, we're getting 50 leads, 500 leads a month. But then, and you think it's hot, you think it's good. The data says good. Yeah, lots of leads, but then they're bad leads, right? Or they're not the right type of leads. And then, so you're like, you look at the data can say, all right, cost per lead on Facebook is much cheaper than the cost per lead on Google, but the Google leads are actually more quality than the Facebook leads. So you have to ask yourself the question, where do you put your money? Do you put your money on the cheaper leads that maybe 1 out of 10 close, or the Google leads that close more, but they're more expensive, right? So then you kind of got to go with your intuition. I'm going to go Google, right? I think intuition's big. I think you got to know your company. You got to know everything about it. Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question, but I'm an intuition guy. You know that, Francie.
Yeah, I know. But still, like, I would say, when we were working together, and so at the moment, I would say there is a lot of things. Technology goes on, and we can measure all kinds of things, and we are collecting the data, CRM. So everything is in the CRM, and then we take a look at the CRM and then the Google Analytics and Facebook Pixel, and get all this data together in the reports. But I think how you were actually different from other businesses is that you always were able to combine these online tactics based on triggers and leads with some like real world, I would say, traditional marketing channels like call center. And that was always really interesting to me, how like we are doing something on the web, but then the final steps are actually this personalized, I would say personalized touch. So your call guy calls someone and sell him on the phone. Because it's I would say not popular strategy, and it's hard to scale. But for this, my theory is, so for these first steps, maybe it's not that much about scaling, but it's more about providing great user experience. And then recently we were starting to think how we will automate these calls, so these second steps. Maybe if you can share some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so that's a good segue, like how I got into digital. So when I graduated high school, I was a salesman all the way up until, forever I was a salesman. I'm a salesman. Get them on the phone, call people, make 200 dials a day. And then I always had this intuition in me, like in the early 2010s, I would say, maybe 2012, 2014, 2015, people are making money online. Like people are selling shit online, man. And it can't be that hard. Like I buy stuff on Amazon all the time. Right. So I was like, I'm going to learn Google ads. So then I hung this Google ad. I watched like a podcast similar to this, and it was like a how to do a Google ad. And I hung my ad and I put my little thing up and I got a lead. And I was like, holy shit. Like this email of this phone number requested information and was emailed to me. And I called him up. I said, this is Dan with ACS. How can I help you? That's pretty much how it happened. Right. And he wanted to buy the product. I was like, holy shit. And then I talked to my partner. I was like, dude, we are no longer going to make cold calls. There will be a day when we don't make cold calls anymore. And that we have so many leads coming in that we won't make cold calls. And that's when I hired you. I was like, all right, Francie, I think in the beginning, I didn't even hire you to do it for me. I think I paid you to teach me. And we did it together. Right. And it was like hands-on. It was like, I don't know what you're trying. I think it was before you had Goodish agency when you were just a one-man shop. And we worked together, just me and you taught me how to do it. And then before long, now we got, as much money as I want to spend, there's leads out there for me. We haven't made a cold call in a long time. Unless I get pissed off at the employees. I go, all right, time to cold call, guys. And then they're cold called. So, yeah.
Nice. So yeah, digital turned out to be a nice opportunity in the new millennium.
Yeah, I think it's the best place to be. I think if I was to start a business from scratch again, say I lost my business, lost everything, had nothing, where would I start? I still wouldn't go get a job. I would learn digital. Until I got that business up and going, and then I would pay somebody else to do it. Yeah.
So I would like to ask you, how do you decide when you automate things? So maybe I was not that clear before, but at the beginning of the business, I remember you did a lot of things manually. So you were calling, cold calling, and then there were more calls and live kind of webinars with the persons, and then you also visited everyone and did some things in the place. And now step by step we are automating everything. So when do you decide that certain process is ready for automation?
That's a great point. I think that at first for me it was all manual, and the first thing I automated was the lead generation. And then what I want to do is just step by step do it. And I think the key thing here is to not break or replace what's already working, but you have to test the new automation until it works good enough to replace the original mechanism, right? So if we're cold calling to get leads, we're not just going to stop cold calling until there's enough leads coming in where we don't have to cold call. And then the next step is to automate the demo. And so we're going to keep doing demos until we can automate the demo. And it's proven that we can automate the demo. I would love to automate the whole damn thing. I was actually having a conversation with my partner, Justin. And I was like, I'd like to automate everything. Everything. Just replace it. And we went back and forth on it. He likes the atmosphere. He likes the hiring the guys and having the sales pit and the camaraderie of the business. I'm on the other side. I want to automate everything. We'll create another job for him. That's figure out how to do it faster, cheaper, more effectively, make more money, and serve the clients better, right? And I think you can do most of it through automation, but some of it you can't replace a human with a machine, particularly for customer service. The worst thing that I hate is when I get a trial from a business and I call, or I go on the website and try to call them and there's no phone number. It's like, I need to talk to somebody. So I relate to that too. So how do you know when to automate versus when to put a person in? I think the first thing is, if you can replicate it by automation, then do it. Don't do it until you can replicate it with automation, but always have a call center. I think as a consumer, at least for me, if I can't figure this out, I want to call somebody and figure it out right now.
So
I don't want to schedule a time tomorrow or schedule it. I don't want to click your Calendly and find out when the fucking best time for you is. I just want to call you right now. Let's figure this out. I'm working on this now. I got to figure this out now. I'm dead in the water until I figure this out. If I have to Calendly you and do it in 3 days, then I'm going to be dead in the water for 3 days. I'm just going to find another service provider that'll fucking figure it out now.
Yeah. So if you are a software service company, working with clients and customer support is at highest importance.
24 hours a day, almost all the time. Yeah. I mean, I respond to emails all the time, day and night, leads day and night. One of our core pillars here is that when somebody requests information, they get a phone call within 5 minutes. When the lead comes in, they get a phone call right away. Because if you look at a sales journey, anything you want to buy, people are more impulsive. People want to buy it now. And the further you get away from that first touch, the less interested they are, right? So you need to respond to the lead now, whether that's through automation or through a phone call or through an email. It's got to be now.
If you don't mind me asking, I thought it was quite interesting how you started saying how now it's much easier to automate the beginning. So just getting the inbound leads rather than doing the outbound calls. But what about that final closing, the point of closing? What about when you reach that point? Before, traditionally you would do demos or you would do calls with the potential customer, versus now where you could literally make a demo, make a video and just kind of have that video to be like a tutorial on how to use the software. So where do you see the bigger possibilities or opportunities? Would you automate this final step, or would you still leave some personalization in that final closing argument?
If I could automate it, I'd automate it. Mine's a pretty complicated product. And some of our clients pay, $40,000 a month. So the guy who's going to pay $40,000 a month probably isn't going to sign up online. They need to talk to somebody, right? Some publicly traded companies or guys that are, they're about to roll this program out to 50 employees. They need handholding. They need a person to talk to. They need to know that your company is secure. I mean, that's another big thing too. So we work with banks and financial institutions, right? So trust is a big factor. So if our software gets hacked, if our customers are using our software and putting their customers' information into our software, and our software gets hacked, that exposes our customer, right? So our customers want to vet us to make sure that our security is in place. So when you're dealing with sensitive topics like what we do, the big vendors out there want to talk to you. And so you really can't automate that. You have to have somebody. But if you're selling to an entrepreneur or a I've never talked with somebody on Zoom. I've never talked to Zoom support, right? You probably don't need to, but if you're trying to take down a bank or, you know, some big institution, you probably need to.
So personal automation, personalization only for big fishes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess at the end of this conversation, I would like to ask you a little bit more, let's say, personal question. So I know that you mentioned several times in this podcast that you're working a lot, answering emails all the time, and so on. But I also know you like to play golf. You like to have a cigar. How as an entrepreneur working 24/7, how do you maintain this family time off, work balance, and how much this off time do you need? Everyone needs. So in order that someone doesn't just have too much on his mind.
If you ask my wife, she'll say that I work all the time. Because even when I'm having a cigar, I'm answering an email. Even when I'm on the golf course, I'm typically on the golf course with
Skype with me. Huh?
Yeah, with dude, I work all the time from 6 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week, all the time. So do I take time off and golf? Like last weekend, I went snowboarding. It was I took my son and a family. We went up to the mountains and we went snowboarding. And it was the first weekend probably since I got married years ago that I've literally like not checked my email. Right? I'm always working. There is no off, dude. There's no off. So you got to figure out a way to answer your email while you're on your bike or something. I don't know. That's just me. There's no work-life balance. It's fucking work.
It just works.
I think a lot of people look, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody, man. It's not. I wish I could have the other mindset of my wife where I'm going to go to work from 8 to 4. And I'm going to leave work at work. I'm going to go home and I got my family and then I'll come back tomorrow morning and I'll work again. I think there's some like brilliance in that, you know, versus me where all I do is work all the time. I mean, even when I'm fucking going to sleep, I'm listening to a podcast about digital marketing, like literally with my headphones on in bed. I don't think it's something you can teach. I think you're born. Like you're either an athlete or you're not an athlete. I think like either you have a desire or you don't. I don't know that's something that can be taught. I don't know if that's too fucked up to say, but.
Well, I'm personally, I like to have some time off in contrast to you. So usually I don't, for example, I don't check emails on Sundays. Sundays is the day of the week I take off. I don't check.
Oh, I know. I know,
you know.
I'm just fucking with you.
I mean, I just feel like I need some time, you know, a few hours, at least a day in a week to clear everything off. But I think this is also how the culture here is different than to US, because I also see from other clients that in US, you literally think that if you won't answer an email in 1 hour or something, you know, the world will fall apart. Like when in Europe, it's, you know, if it's an email, it can be answered tomorrow. If it would be urgent, then you would probably call me.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. Yeah, it's definitely a cultural difference. I think Mexico is kind of the same way. Like, or in Spain, you're in Spain. Do you guys have siestas or like midday naps?
Traditionally, we still do. Yeah, they'll take like. Yeah.
Yeah,
or
like
they finish at 3 p.m. Like every Spanish company on Friday at 3 p.m. they're done for the weekend.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. It's a when somebody else is, when I'm working when the competition is sleeping, you know, and maybe one day I'll sell and go to the beach and not
start
work
another
anymore
business, huh?
and start another business. My friend Chris was actually talking to me about that. It's like, so what do you do in your spare time? I fucking start other businesses. You know what I mean? Like, what's your hobbies, Dan? Starting other businesses. I like, it's not work, it's fun. Yeah.
So do you have any tips for young entrepreneurs that are like starting their journeys, wanting to build SaaS company?
I would say learn to build a website. You need to learn Adobe. You need to learn Adobe, the whole suite, and you need to learn either WordPress or Wix, because when you're building a company for the first time, you don't have any money, right? You got no money. Maybe you got a couple bucks, but a logo is going to cost you $300. A website's going to cost you $2,000. You know, you want to update the website, it's going to cost you $500. You need this foundation of skill set to build your business. And in today's world, you need to learn how to do it all yourself. You need to be able to do it yourself. And then you'll hire somebody else to do it. You know, I think maybe 2 years ago, Francie, you asked me at the end of the year when you guys were doing an inventory on your business, oh, why do we hire Goodish? Right? Because I don't have time to do it. Right? I can do it. Right? But when you get to the point of a business, you need to outsource, you need to leverage, you need to hire other people to do it. But I could never have got to that spot. I don't think I could have ever built this business if I didn't know the fundamentals of marketing, how to set up MailChimp, how to set up a CRM, how to set up a website, how to buy a domain name, set up the MX records and an email, right? You got to know how to install a pixel. You got to be able to know how to set up the business yourself and work with a team. And when you get big enough, then you work with a team to hire them to do it. Yeah. So that would be my one major point to any entrepreneur is know how to do it yourself, know how to build the website yourself. That's where I would start.
Great, awesome.
Hold on, somebody's calling me. Hold on. Oh, declined. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think that nicely wraps up everything. Then I would really like to thank you because you take your time. I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and thank you
Any
for
final
joining.
And if I give any if anybody's watching this, any business owners doing $1 million a year, my recommendation would be to reach out to Francie and Goodish Agency and really engage them because yes, I can market. Yes, I can do Google. Yes, I can do the analytics and the Facebook and the YouTube. And yes, I can build a website, but you don't have the time of the day to do it. Right. And so you need to rely on a company that can do it for you and that you can trust them. And I trust Francie with my business, with all my marketing. And Goodish Agency does web development, analytics, CRMs, phone room integration, chat. They're fully outsourced agency for all your technical needs. So when building a company, it's more than just hiring an agency to run your Facebook ads. If you hire an agency just to do Facebook ads, they're going to fail because it has to do with your email, your Facebook, your website, your CRM, analytics. I mean, logos, videos, images, blogs. It's a digital architecture, and I put my trust in Goodish, and you guys should too. I think so. That's my pitch for you.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you again for everyone that joined the conversation. Yeah, do get in touch if you have any further questions. We'll continue to do other webinars. We'll talk about Google Analytics 4 soon, about the new iOS 14 update and the new privacy clauses. So yeah, keep tuned, and we'll keep interesting content coming your way.